Hey everyone, Richard Metal Fan here. It's a good Wednesday morning. I'm off work today because it's snowing, but that's not what we're talking about. I'm bringing you guys an old school album review, and today we're going to be looking into British Steel by Judas Priest. This is the band's sixth album. This was released in the year 1980, the beginning of the new decade for Judas Priest, since they've been around since the 70s. Now, of course, let's let's talk about like this album, like the artwork. I mean, one of the most iconic artworks of any heavy metal album cover. It's just the hand like holding a razorback with the Judas Priest logo. Like one of probably my favorite pieces of artwork. Work with the hands. It has British steel. Sorry, that was my worst English accent. But yeah, another thing to know about is they got another new drummer. They have Dave Holland, which I think he's a pretty good drummer, and he was their drummer throughout Judas Priest's run in the 1980s. He was on from this album up until the end of the 80s, which would be Ram It Down, which we'll talk about that when we talk about that. And he's a pretty good drummer, and I liked how and this album, my God, this is pretty much a really great album. It's really good. A great way to kick off a new decade after they're running the 70s. Now we're into the 1980s Judas Priest. And one thing I should also note about with this album, depending on what versions you get from like different countries, the track listings, like there's 9 tracks total, but with each album versions, it's like the track listings kind of like in a different order. But I just like to talk about, but this order I think is probably the best. Is probably what I consider the iconic, or the way how I feel like it should go. And I'm sorry, this album is just really good. I mean, honestly, if this was just self-titled, I think this would be the self-titled album if they were to make one. And it's a great album. But enough of me rambling about and saying how great it is. Let's just talk about the 9 songs on here, track by track. Now the album kicks off with "Breaking the Law." This song is a metal classic, and the intro is very well known, even outside of metal. It consists of a snake lead that drives the song forward, along with like a driving along the motorway kind of backing rhythm. It's a very confident performance from Halford, who sort of makes a sparse but effective use of his falsetto, particularly on the word law and at the end of chorus, like breaking the law. And like in the midsection, where especially in live performances, there's a short solo. No, but it's a great, what I consider an opening track and sort of like the highlight of this album, to be honest. Next song, Rapid Fire. It's not as rapid, really. Not like Painkiller rapid or even like Riding on the Wind rapid. But it does make use of like Dave Holland's like double bass work. The riffs are a bit more spaced out, but they really do sound like firing guns at times. So this this song is not effectively have a chorus. However, just like, I don't know, for example, Black Sabbath's Iron Man, this track works well even without sort of like a catchy section. Another great display of Rob, a bit more high pitched this time, but not like overdoing it. It's Metal Gods. This is sort of a song that kind of sneaks up on you. At first you'll kind of be like, what the hell is this? But then you'll go, this is interesting, and by third listen you'll be like, fuck yeah, this is awesome. Again, this is hardly an overused chorus, but it doesn't mean that this is a bad track. What little chorus there is is great, with a great vocal effect. Another high point on this album. Grinder, another Judas Priest classic, moving along with a steady driving pace. It features lyrics about something that sounds like a cross between a sex offender and a whore monster. This time there is a solo, and it's a pretty good one. However, this track is not one of the album's best and will probably be skipped quite often, which is kind of a shame, really. United. It's kind of a slower track on here. It's driven by Dave's like mammoth percussion. This is the drummer's high point of this album, since he pretty much drives the verse almost by himself. And then Halford spews out a rant about fighting the enemies and sort of like standing tall together in a very anthemic chorus. Great track. Living After Midnight. Once again, sort of like starts with Dave Holland pounding away creative, a great kind of like hard rock beat. I mean, this is like the most kind of like hard rocky track on here. Here it's sort of like reminds me of like something from like the 1977 British punk scene. And what do you say about the solo other than it's great? It's short, but you'll enjoy it every little bit of it. I mean, the chorus is kind of repeated a bit too much, but it's still a great song. One of the classic Judas Priest songs in their repertoire. Really great. Um, don't have to be old to be wise. In my honest opinion, I think it's a often forgotten track on here that really stands out in this album. It kind of shares a little bit of similarities to the song Grinder. Grinder. This song is far superior, if not lyrically. The riffs and the choruses are great, and Halford rips out with some really great falsettos. There was, and this is a great track to be discovered. And I really wish a lot of people would actually talk about this song more. In fact, I don't think anybody really acknowledges this as a song. It's pretty much a damn shame. Um, the Rage. I mean, the tempo here is pretty much similar, somewhere between like Grinder and Unite, and the instrumentation is good as well as like Halford's performance on here. Here, good song, and Steeler, which a pretty good song to end the album. I think it's a good song, like it. Now, overall, British Steel by Judas Priest is a great album, a good way to kick off the new decade in the 1980s, and a good way to start off the 80s for Judas Priest. If I would give this album a score, I definitely give this a solid 10 out of 10. It's a classic, old school heavy metal classic. Yeah, I said classic twice. But yeah, that's my review of British Steel, guys. Let me know in the comments what you guys think of the album. And I'll see you all in the next video, and keep it metal.